All right, we should be live. Hopefully ready to go. Let me just pull up the YouTube live stream while I'm setting things up. Apparently, a vote in the House tomorrow, the US House, on the Epstein files.
We're talking about this. So you can see here, Reuters says the Republican-controlled U.S. House of Representatives is expected to vote as soon as Tuesday. And I believe it is scheduled for tomorrow afternoon now. See if I can find some confirmation of that. That's what NBC News was reporting. Hold on. I just saw that as I was coming on the air. Liz Elkind for Fox News says it's 3:15 p.m. tomorrow. Okay? So according to Fox News's Liz Elkind, the vote is scheduled for 3:15 tomorrow, 3:15 p.m. So we're gonna be covering that live tomorrow.
3:15 p.m. I would assume Eastern Standard Time. Not 100% sure, but probably. We will be live around that time as well, all things considered.
That is the House vote. The House vote to force the release of the investigative files related to the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, with passage seen as all but guaranteed after President Trump dropped his longstanding opposition last night. And remember, just because they vote for it, that doesn't make it a law. The Senate would need to vote for it, and then it's not clear that the Senate will have a vote on it, by the way. We don't know if the Senate would hold a vote on this. And then Trump would need to sign it if both the House and Senate passed it. Trump's reversal late on Sunday came days after a House petition gathered enough support to force a vote, a rare instance of House Republicans defying the president's wishes. Until the weekend, Trump and his staff had lobbied hard to prevent any further release of the files from the criminal investigation by the U.S. Department of Justice into Epstein, a wealthy New York financier who was for a time friends with Trump. But as I told you last night on social media, he said that House Republicans should vote to release the Epstein files because we have nothing to hide. Okay, I want to take some comments from you guys. So we're going to be covering this vote tomorrow.
Okay, so there you have it. That vote is happening tomorrow in the House in the United States to potentially get the Epstein files out there. And then we have Trump himself actually elaborating on this.
Mr. President, you clarify something that you posted on Truth Social last night. You urged House Republicans to vote in favor of this Epstein release bill they're going to vote on tomorrow. I just want to be super clear on your position. Do you want to see that pass the Senate? Would you sign that bill if it gets to your desk?
I do want to say, here's what I want. We have nothing to do with Epstein. The Democrats do. All of his friends were Democrats. You look at this Reid Hoffman, you look at Larry Summers, Bill Clinton, they went to his island all the time, and many others. They're all Democrats. All I want for people to recognize the great job that I've done on pricing, on affordability, because we brought prices way down, but they're going way lower, on energy, on ending 8 wars and another one coming pretty soon.
The prices are going to be way lower. Way, way lower.
I believe. We've done a great job. And I hate to see that deflect from the great job we've done. So I'm all for it. You know, we've already given 50,000 pages. You do know that. Unfortunately, like with the Kennedy situation, with the Martin Luther King situation, not to put Jeffrey Epstein in the same category, but no matter what we give, it's never enough. You know, with Kennedy, we gave everything and it wasn't enough. With Martin Luther King, we gave everything and it's never enough. We've already given, I believe the number is 50,000 pages, 50,000 pages. And it's just a Russia hoax as it pertains to the Republicans. Now, I believe that some of the people that we mentioned are being looked at very seriously for their relationship to Jeffrey Epstein. But they were with him all the time. I wasn't at all. and we'll see what happens. What I just don't want Epstein to do is detract from the great success of the Republican Party, including the fact that the Democrats are totally blamed for the shutdown. You know, they cost our country hundreds of billions of dollars with that, at a lot of inconvenience. So I'm for any. I don't. They can do whatever they want. We'll give them everything. Sure, I would. Let the Senate look at it. Let anybody look at it. But don't talk about it too much, because honestly, I don't want to take it away from us. It's really a Democrat problem. The Democrats were Epstein's friends, all of them, and it's a hoax. The whole thing is a hoax. And
I just want to know if there's a list and who was on it. That's pretty much how that goes. Anyway, enough of the US stuff. The main reason I am streaming right now, the budget vote, a lot going on. Got a couple videos here to go through before we eventually get to the House of Commons. Right now they are debating budgetary policy, just basic House of Commons proceedings.
We're looking at students. We talk about youth. Here we have youth who are...
Anyway, let's get into some details for tonight.
The NDP will say, we didn't support this budget. We can't go to an election right now. We would if we could, but we can't. We're in the middle of a leadership race. Remember what happens when the Liberals wanted to go through a leadership race? They prorogued all of frickin' Parliament. What we're going to do is we're going to talk to you about what is going to happen tomorrow, if you're watching this tomorrow, today. So the first thing to know is we are going to be live streaming the actual vote.
And by we, Ryan means he,
Me.
because I have to bring Vincent to therapy.
So look out for the live stream to be posted tomorrow, and we are going to be covering the actual vote as it happens, so we can all huddle together.
Might have to pop in and out. We'll see what happens depending on how much time we have.
To watch the prediction of a passing budget tomorrow. Now, before it passes, it's going to continue into debate from noon until 2. Question period will then happen, and then debate will continue following question period until adjournment proceedings and win the vote. So we expect the vote to happen at around 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. I will be firing up the stream probably around 5:45 p.m. So we can all kind of file in and get ready and get our stuff together. Is what they call it, which means they essentially tell all the MPs, hey, it's time to vote, get your butts in here. And after that half hour passes, all the MPs will either file in or they will get ready online if they're not sick, and then the vote will be called. Liberals will all stand to have the vote or the budget pass. We'll see if any don't stand, which will be interesting. And then they will call who is going to oppose the budget. And we expect all of the Conservatives to oppose it. We expect all of the Bloc to oppose it. Elizabeth May has said she's going to oppose it. And we expect the NDP to mostly abstain. And if they do, then this will kind of line up with what we predicted was going to happen a couple of months ago, which is this budget has to pass. And just a quick recap of why. The way the polls are right now, they're about 50-50. They're within that margin of error. Whoever pushes an election right now is going to get absolutely slaughtered in the court of public opinion.
Well, and never mind that. Pretty much nobody can afford it. Everybody just had an election 6 months ago.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's a lot, especially for EDAs that maybe they're not supposed to win, but they want to run a candidate anyways. They may have trouble fundraising, especially on short notice like this.
So, So if the Liberals push this to an election, which they're not going to at this point, all that would happen is the opposition parties would say, what the heck are you doing? You just had an election. You just won an election. And you can't point to anybody blocking you from any of your legislation because it's happening. So it's not our fault that you're literally getting nothing done. So that's what's going on here. So they will get absolutely creamed in there. If the opposition forces an election, then they will get slaughtered in the court of public opinion, because all you're going to hear from the Liberals is Canadians can't afford an election. See, the opposition, they don't care about you. They're forcing you back to an election. And this is just an example of how they're preventing us from building Canada strong. And off you go to a Liberal majority. So that's why the opposition cannot vote down this budget right now, because that's what would happen in the chess game. So what has to happen is all of the parties have to oppose the budget, but still allow it to pass. That way, they can stand up in front of their constituents and saying, we didn't like this budget.
We didn't support it.
We didn't support it. So the NDP will say, we didn't support this budget. We can't go to an election right now. We would if we could, but we can't. We're in the middle of a leadership race. Remember what happens when the Liberals wanted to go through a leadership race? They prorogued all of frickin' Parliament. We have to be here while Parliament is here during our leadership race. Must be nice to be the Liberals. So that's what the NDP is going to end up doing, and this budget will pass, which is fine, because there's a whole heap of people out there, and organizations, and business unions, and business organizations that are coming out and saying this budget is not what you were advertising. So that's the nice thing. The Conservatives aren't the only ones standing up and saying this. And you're having panelists actually come on. Laurie Turnbull was on CTV on Friday with what's his face? Mike Couture, I think is his name. Anyway, she was saying Pierre Poilievre has been right on this budget. He's been absolutely right. Because it doesn't do what Carney said it was going to do, and he's been right on these projects that he's been announcing, never mind the one that is in his financial interest, because they've all been pre-announced, nothing's new, and Carney's trying to take credit for all of it. So she's like, yeah, he's right, and none of these are solving affordability crisis right now. That's the big problem with this budget. So 6 months after this budget, remember what we said. All you're going to hear from the opposition parties is, when are Canadians going to get better? When is things going to get better? When? You said things were going to move at speeds heretofore untold. Carney was actually talking like Trump, right? The likes of which we've never seen before. But yet Pierre's the one that gets called Trump all the time.
Of course.
So that's what will have to happen. And there's a lot of chatter in the MPs that there's a spring election coming. So we'll see what happens after the NDP win their leadership race, get their platform together, and get their act together, hopefully. And we may be back to the polls next summer, folks. And after 6 months, when nothing has changed for the average Canadian, and maybe they dip into OAS. Maybe they threaten to dip into OAS. I don't know. But I don't think anything is off the table for Mark Carney, and I think he's going to tick off literally everybody at this point because of his narcissism, and he thinks that I'm good to go.
Well, they have no choice, I think, is the attitude, right? Canadians will do what I say because I know it's good for them.
So that's what's going to happen tomorrow. That's what's going to happen over the next 6 months. So get ready, because the firing squad is going to come out after this budget passes.
The firing squad.
And nothing happens.
Look, yeah, I don't know. I have a strong feeling that it probably will pass. I don't know if the NDP will cave, or maybe a few bloc members will cave. I'm not entirely sure. But what I do know is an election would not favor the Conservatives. I just don't believe it, even though I would like to see Poilievre be prime minister. I don't see it happening. So I guess, yeah, in their best interest, it would be to oppose it, but then have a few ministers show up sick, or not show up at all, I mean. And that's how that happens. Anyway, we have a few more things to get through here, as we have roughly, according to Northern Perspective, he said 6:30. Thought it was 6:45. That's what was being reported, but we have roughly 20 minutes to a half hour.
With me now is James Moore, former Conservative cabinet minister. Thanks for being here, James.
Thank you.
Let's get into this. Been a lot of political maneuvering behind the scenes and otherwise for this budget vote tonight. How do you see it? Again, it's coming. This vote probably happening in the next few hours or so.
Well, one by each, let's go through the parties. The Liberal Party, of course, all members of Parliament will show up. They're the Prime Minister of the country, and Liberals said this is the most important, federal budget in a generation. They will all be there. The Bloc Québécois has said flat out that they will all be there, and they're opposed to the budget. They were the first opposition party to do so. The Conservative Party and Pierre Poilievre, they've been the most rhetorically aggressive against the budget. And in politics, your actions have to match your rhetoric, otherwise you lose credibility. So I expect all the Conservatives to show up and to be there to vote against the budget. I think the unknown question are the 7 New Democrats. You have Don Davies and 6, frankly, New Democrats in name, but independents in terms of their action, because you have one member of their caucus, Heather McPherson, who's running for the NDP leadership. So she has to be sort of pure as the wind-driven snow in terms of her ideological predisposition. So she should probably vote against the budget. But then you have someone like Don Davies, who's the leader of the parliamentary faction. And, it could come down to something like a Filipino cultural center, which is hugely important in his very ethnically diverse riding, which may cause him to either abstain or vote maybe in favor of the budget, but probably abstain, which would give the Liberals that one extra margin. Matt Genereux, who is a Conservative, elected as a Conservative, who was, rumored to cross the floor, then quit politics altogether, but now he's sticking around for 6 months. It's credible to assume that he might stay away given the dynamics of things and because he may not want to have an election campaign right now. So it'll come down to a couple MPs. And the way the parliamentary vote goes, right, is the government votes in favor of it. The official opposition will vote against it. So you have the Bloc Québécois and those 22 Bloc MPs. You might have 1 or 2 Bloc MPs who might vote electronically, who might decide to refresh their Wi-Fi system while the vote is going on. So there could be some games. It's possible that the vote will fail. I think
it's probably going to be some sort of political game, as he claimed and as Northern Perspective claimed. It's either members aren't going to show, or there's going to be an issue with the electronic voting, or, oh, I couldn't make it in time, and you'll see somebody walking down to their seat mid-vote, and then there'll be a big point of order after, and then they'll have to recount and do all this garbage. Anything is possible. At the end of the day, if we head to an election right now, I have a feeling the Liberals will win a majority. I just do. I don't have... Just the way the mainstream media has been smearing the Conservatives recently, and based on a lot of things I've been hearing, everybody's claiming it's 50-50 neck and neck, but I don't know. I don't think a winter election would be good. It needs to give some more time. They need to have Mark Carney fail a bit more in order to sway more people to either the Conservative or bring people back to the Bloc or the NDP side. It just needs a bit more time. And I don't know. I'm not feeling confident with a winter election.
It's not probable that it will fail.
Yeah, and it certainly is going to be interesting as we watch this play out. Do you believe, I'm just curious your thoughts about it failing right now, or if it happening too, and Canadians going back to the polls, possibly for a holiday election, maybe early into the new year. Certainly doesn't feel like residents of this country have an appetite for that, but what, the political fallout could be with so much riding on the line today.
Well, the last time this happened or there was a Christmas campaign was the 2005-2006 campaign, where the official opposition, Conservatives with the other opposition parties, I was there, we brought down the then Liberal government, and there was a Christmas campaign, and people said that there was going to be hell to pay. Well, there wasn't. The Liberals lost, the opposition won, Stephen Harper became Prime Minister. Now, the difference is that there was more than a year between voting day and the election campaign. This is 6 months. Canadians have given their fellow countrymen in the election campaigns, and 6 out of the last 8 federal elections have yielded minority parliaments. Canadians expect minority parliaments to work. They expect them to be functional. They expect people to show up regardless of their ideological or regional predispositions and biases, to come to Parliament and try to make things functional and work. If the Parliament fails to do that, it fails to work, there will be a rush to the microphones later today and tomorrow to try to spin that the other guy is responsible for the campaign, because Canadians don't want an election. They expect parliamentarians to show up and be serious and studious in the way in which they approach the nation's business. So I think that anybody who loses that spin war will have a hell to pay on Election Day, because Canadians genuinely don't want in a campaign 6 months later. They knew what they were voting for. Should there be a federal or should there be a majority parliament or a minority parliament? That wasn't an explicit conversation in this campaign. But if we're at this, by the way, every 60 days, every 90 days, you and I are having this conversation: is the government going to fall? What about these independents? What about a Filipino cultural center, and whether or not that's going to be the hinge of this parliament? That's unsustainable. And I think in the next campaign there could be a straight up or down clear question of, do you want a majority or a minority, and do you want it to be red or blue? And let's have a real sense of sturdy parliamentary stability as we deal with President Trump and the economic challenges of the nation.
It certainly has been an interesting day in the last few days, too. James Moore, former...
All right, yeah, it's going to be a wild next 40 minutes or so until we figure out what's going on with this budget. And then afterwards, who knows? Who knows where tonight's going to lead?
And federal conservative leader there trading barbs ahead of the biggest test in the House of Commons for the Liberals yet. A confidence vote on support for the budget is set for Monday. What are the political stakes and what might happen with that vote? Let's bring back our front bench: Christy Clark, Marco Mendicino, James Moore, and Tony Clement. It was just a week ago, Marco, we were wondering out loud as the news broke that Matt Genereux, Conservative MP, was leaving, resigning as an MP, whether that would change the math. The math will stay the same. The government, however, thanks to Chris D'Entremont, is just too short, the Liberals rather, 2 seats short of a majority. Is there any doubt in your mind that this budget passes?
Well, I mean, I'm cautiously optimistic, in part because, we're 1 vote closer to the magic number that we need to pass the budget on that first milestone, which will be next week. There's never a completely zero chance that things couldn't take a surprising twist, as we saw in last week's panel during the commercial segment, which we all made for interesting commentary and television. But I think in the meantime, what I would observe is that it is encouraging, if you sit in the Liberal benches and if you're the Liberal government, that Conservatives are seeing elements in a budget that appeal to them and to the people that they represent. For example, the fiscal restraint around public service modernization and working closely with the rank and file of the public service to make it more efficient so we can save and show more responsibility towards taxpayer dollars. I think equally, there are elements that appeal to those on all sides of the political spectrum when it comes to building. And that's precisely what the Prime Minister said was at the core of this budget, which is how do we get major projects done? How do we get energy to market? How do we build houses? How do we reinvigorate our defense industrial sector? I mean, those are important initiatives which need to accelerate so that we can create jobs. And by doing that, I think you then speak to and relate to a lot of Canadians who, yes, remain anxious about the current state of the economy and want to see forward progress. And so the fact that people are coming on side, and I don't know how many others there might be. There may still be others, but I think it's encouraging. It shows broad appeal.
Let's split the difference there for a second, James, and ask first on the politics of it, your view of what you think will happen next week, but on the less on the politics within the House and more on what's happened over the last week in your assessment of how the Prime Minister and his team have tried to sell the budget.
I think the budget will pass, mostly because the NDP are broke and broken, and I don't think that they're in a position to trigger an election campaign. So I think they'll find a way to have a couple people stay away.
Just absolutely cooks the NDP. He's not wrong, though.
way or abstain in such a way that allowed the Liberals to move forward. Look, the budget, Marco, underlined some of the good things in the budget, and there are some reasonable things in there. Capital cost allowance, $81 billion in new defense spending, a quarter of that for retention, recruitment, and salary increases, the other 3/4 for procurement that will allow us actually to have some independence and distance ourselves perhaps from the United States in some ways, and also to embolden us to preach about our closing the gap on 3 to 5% of GDP on defense spending. Like, there's some good things there, lowering the immigration levels for the country in a way that'll be more sustainable for the pressures on our social programs. Those are all good things. However, the high level of indebtedness, the high level of a burden that are still on Canadians, and the lack of any real items in the budget that will relieve in the immediate term the cost pressures on Canadians, those are our real selling features for the Conservatives in their retail effort to attract voters to the Conservative movement. So I think the fault lines are clear. The Conservatives are very proud about their messaging and their ambitions to be the voice for Canadians who are struggling to make ends meet. And the Liberals are very proud of that they have a macro budget by a macro economist who thinks that the country is going to be able to shift in a different way. So I think it leads to a good debate and a healthy 2026, and probably a campaign within the calendar year.
Where does it leave the NDP, Christy?
Well, they're not in a good place right now. I mean, the one thing you could argue that the NDP have kind of won out of the budget is that the Carney Liberals were very, very light touch on the changes to the bureaucracy in the federal government, which I've always argued is much, much too big. And they are not demanding big cost-cutting measures by downsizing staff in the federal government. My instinct tells me that they would have been likely to do so had they not been depending on the NDP. So it looks like the NDP actually, from my perspective, did get a little win out of the budget. I'm not sure they're in favor of all of the economic growth and development coming from the resource sector as much, but they are really in tough times. As James said, they have no money. They've got a leadership campaign coming up. They've got tons of discontent within their caucus. This budget isn't going to pass because Conservatives like it. It's going to pass because the NDP cannot afford an election right now. And, I guess they got some small win out of it by a government that is really, has failed to do enough to cut spending within government. But, you can thank the NDP for that. They were quiet about it, but they got something of what they wanted.
Although I think, Tony, from what my conversation, my interviews with Don Davies, they would have liked to see even less restriction on spending. Is there a chance you think the NDP could surprise us?
Well, I was harboring that illusion until I heard today that they still have $23 million of campaign debt. So let me assure your viewers that no political party is going to rush to the polls where they still have that burden on their shoulders. So I think there'll be some diplomatic flu going around the NDP caucus. So I wouldn't worry if I was a Liberal.
I wanted to get everyone as however many minutes we have left in also on the other big story of the week. I started the block off by talking about Matt Genereux. Obviously, Marco, that followed an actual defection from, and you referenced this, from the Conservatives in Mr. d'Entremont to the Liberals. Yesterday, for the first time, Pierre Poilievre addressed questions about this publicly. He'd been talking in the House, but not about anything to do with this. I mean, he said that he would, he was asked a question about whether he would reflect on his leadership and the accusation from Mr. d'Entremont that the office was like a frat house. I'm just going to play a quick clip of what he said, and then I'll get you to weigh in.
So again, I asked you if you thought that if what you thought Mr. d'Entremont meant by your party being run like a frat house, you thought that would lead to more MPs leaving your caucus. That's my question for you, sir.
No. So I answered your question. And so the answer that I have back to you is that Mr. d'Entremont this is a quote from just a few months ago.
All right, so that is an older video from 3 or so days ago. I just wanted to get some opinions on the budget there. And just a few hours ago, we have MPs preparing to vote on the budget, literally walking in.
Is your budget going to pass today? Listen, it's really a question for the opposition. We deliver for Canadians, and I hope they can feel the mood of the nation. Canadians wants to go forward, and that's the plan to bring Canada forward. And so it's really a question for the opposition.
I work with a lot of veterans, a lot of people who are in the military now, and we're all incredibly grateful for the increased expenditure on the military. Some of them were not brought to tears, but it was quite emotional for them. You know, they feel the support, and that's a big part of the budget. And I feel very positive about that. I'm proud of that. So, and I think that's a reflection of other parts of the budget as well. Honestly, and I'm not just saying this for political reasons, everybody I spoke to was positive. They're happy with the direction of the government, and please, we don't want an election. So that's the sentiment I came back with.
I'm not overconfident, but I'm confident.
We cannot vote against the budget.
Is it going to be a whipped vote? All your caucus aligned on that?
Pardon?
Is all of your caucus aligned on that?
Yes.
Do you expect every Conservative MP to vote against it then?
Yes.
Are you ready for an election in Saskatoon? We are. We'll see what happens.
He kind of got, hold on, I gotta go back there. He kind of got like almost angry. He was like getting up in her face and going like, yeah, like everybody's gonna vote for it. Like he didn't like that question.
Is your caucus aligned on that?
Yes.
Do you expect every Conservative MP to vote against it then?
Yes.
Are you ready for an election in Saskatoon?
Yeah, he didn't like that question. You could just tell by the expression there.
We are. We'll see what happens. I don't think the public wants it, but we'll see what happens.
Do you think we wind up with an election?
We'll see tonight.
Will your caucus vote against it? All of your MPs?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay, so no
Yeah.
abstentions on the Conservative side?
I don't know. I know I'm voting against it. I only worry about Kevin.
You'll see soon.
Are we
heading to an election?
I will not be supporting the budget. Why? Well, for one, this week we commemorated 4 years since the most costly disaster in the history of Canada, the floods and landslides that wiped out all major critical infrastructure for the province of British Columbia, many of which is in my former riding and current riding. We had the Prime Minister in White Rock the other day talking about supporting a peer. How do you think the people of Abbotsford feel that he'll come to British Columbia for a Prime Minister that talks about supply chains and expanding trade to the Asia Pacific? Guess what? You can't do any of that until you eliminate the risk that exists in Abbotsford with the CN, the CP Rail, the Trans-Canada Highway, which goes into the Coquihalla Highway, and the Southern Railway, the border crossing, the Abbotsford International Airport. All of that needs to be addressed by the federal government. They're not signaling right now that they're willing to step up and do what's right for BC. And secondly, I'm worried about future generations and all of the comments made by the parliamentary budget officer about how much money is being spent and where that money in fact is going. Thank you.
Are you confident your whole caucus will vote against the budget?
All right, so there you have that. We also have everybody's least favorite, Rosemary Barton and David Cochrane, discussing the budget. We are roughly 20 minutes out before the MPs return, and we get the official vote.
Much, and they don't like the quote-unquote investments the government is making to try and spur the economy. They can go and make that case if they want. I just don't know a lot of Conservatives that want to be doing that right now. Yeah.
Look, the NDP are going to be the answer to this
I think
question
so,
one
yeah.
way or another. Heather McPherson, when we were walking you through the math, she just walked in, and Rosie tried, but there was no answer. There's been a bit of a poker face or total absence from the New Democrats, so we are expecting to see their leader in about 20 minutes or so.
Listen, I think you understand to some extent why the NDP is reluctant to declare, well, support certainly for the budget, but also their position in advance. It was largely, partly at least, their connection through the Supply and Confidence Agreement to the Trudeau government that dragged them down in the last election. Other factors as well, but that was part of it. And there was a long debate inside that caucus for many months about when they needed to sever that agreement. Many people thinking that it should have been done much earlier than it was. So how do you, with just 7 people in your caucus, show a different position against the government and then not end up in an election where, quite frankly, they might gain seats some places, they would probably lose seats in other places.
Well, there's the argument they make that...
I have a solid feeling if we head to an election, the Liberals would probably gain seats, but I think they would also lose some back to the Bloc. I don't think the Conservatives would gain Liberal seats. I could be wrong, but once again, I don't have confidence in a winter election, and I would even go as far to say that the Liberals would probably win a majority.
Now, that middle line is probably going to be the most significant because there is an additional MP from the opposition today who has announced they will be supporting the budget, and that is Green Party leader Elizabeth May. Take a listen.
I'm going to vote yes for the country, for the planet, and for my hope in the future. The Liberals can't count on me voting confidence in the government again without delivering on the words I heard.
All right, we've got a ton to unpack there, and who better to do that than a special edition of the Strategy Session. Scott Reid is a CTV News political analyst and former communications director to Prime Minister Paul Martin. Corey Teneycke was Ontario Premier Doug Ford's campaign manager and former director of communications for Prime Minister Stephen Harper. And Kathleen Monk is a former NDP strategist and director of communications to the late Jack Layton. Hi, everyone, on this Monday. Scott, I'll start with you. Elizabeth May says there's enough in this now, enough from the Prime Minister today that she can support the budget, which means we're just a few abstentions away from it going ahead. If you were to put some money on it, what would you guess happens?
Like, I'd bet all of Corey's money, and that's no small sum, that the budget will pass. We might get the full thrill of a tied vote. I mean, the NDP, if they do a couple of abstentions, they may be so strategic, they may do it so precisely that they might literally take this to a tie. Then the Speaker would have to bust the tie and continue the Parliament. So I think it's going to be dramatic. I think it's going to be fun to watch. But I think ultimately the budget's going to pass. Parliament will live. We will not be subjected to a Christmas election. And fun fact, although it can't happen by law, if the Prime Minister was to call an election on Wednesday, technically 37 days would be Christmas Day. What better way to celebrate your friends and family than by casting a ballot?
It's what we all are asking Santa for, I'm sure.
No.
Corey, what does your gut tell you about how this plays out?
I think there'll be some abstentions, and we won't have an election campaign. That's my guess. But boy, no, this isn't as exciting as the Grey Cup game yesterday because we don't fully know how it's going to turn out. I think that's the most likely outcome, but. The last time we were through something like this with the Clark government, everyone in Ottawa thought the budget was going to pass, and then it didn't. So, surprises are a surprise because you don't see them coming. So, I will be watching anxiously when the vote occurs.
Yeah, it's a good warning, Kathleen, because I think we have a sense of where things could go, but Corey's absolutely right. You do never know. When you are in a minority position, you do need additional support or a certain number of abstentions. Now with Elizabeth May kind of outlining what she is going to do, I think attention necessarily shifts to the NDP. What are you going to be watching for?
Yeah, and there's been a lot of attention on the NDP because a lot of the framing around this budget vote, the story has been that the NDP is leaderless, dollarless, and can't afford to go into an election. But actually, I think there's a lot more going on behind the scenes, a lot more horse trading that's happening among all the parties. And it's not clear to me even if the Conservatives actually will all, in fact, show up and vote against this budget. And their abstentions could mean that New Democrats could full-throatedly vote against this budget. Listen, it has been known and characterized as sometimes a mercurial caucus at times, and there is an eagerness of New Democrats to vote against Carney's, cuts that he's making and the lack of investment in certain areas, and certainly the job cuts that are coming to the public service, among other things. But there have been things put on the table that are also attractive to New Democrats. But I think what I'm watching for the most, Vashi, is how the leaders, whether it's Pierre Poilievre, whether it's Don Davies, or even how we heard Elizabeth May earlier in the day, frame up their decision. And I think that, Elizabeth May basically got her vote bought by the Carney Liberals today for the privilege of asking one question in the House of Commons and getting some vague commitments to the Paris objectives, that they'll try harder. I think that if you're going to actually vote for this budget, you should eke out real measures from this Carney government. And if you don't get those new measures, I think it's fair to abstain because most Canadians don't want an election right now. So it's fair to say, hey, we're going to let this one go. We don't like the budget, but we're not going to vote actively against it because nobody wants, except Scott Reid, to have a Christmas election.
What position in that vein, Scott, our number one champion of a Christmas election, what position do you think is most tenable to Canadians? Because I know we always look at it from a strategic perspective, but ultimately, I think Canadians are fairly tuned in right now to what's happening as well.
To a degree, but I think Canadians would be shocked, as we all would be, if this thing went sideways. And Corey's right. Weird things can happen. I mean, if you're literally counting it down to a tie, somebody falls on a stapler or something, you can get a crazy outcome. But I don't think Canadians expect an election. I don't actually think they're glued to their television watching this count. So if there was to be an election, I think there would be a large expression of outrage across the country. And that's really why Liz May is saying, despite almost nothing in this budget being in concert with where she would want federal public policy going, she's saying, look, ask me. I get one question, I get whatever, I get a free Snickers bar, like whatever it takes, because she knows the Canadians don't want an election, and that's ultimately why this budget will pass. Nobody wants to pull the trigger on this and be blamed for doing so.
It's interesting because in the lead up, Corey, like especially over the last week, you've heard parties talk less and less about the prospect of an election. Like there has not been an overabundance of pre-positioning. When it comes to the Conservatives, obviously, and we've talked about this on a couple of occasions, this whole budget vote process has happened in concert with some, big events for them as well. Do you think it matters if Matt Genereux abstains from tonight's vote?
Well, it could matter, right? So the Liberals have gained 2 votes, Elizabeth May and D'Outremont. So you're talking about like a party of 6 people for the NDP. One, if you assume that the contestant running for leadership of the party is going to vote against, and the person who's the interim leader is going to vote against, you basically need 50% of the remaining part of their caucus to abstain in order to get there. And I heard what Kathleen said about, getting something concrete. Well, how well did that work for the NDP during the Trudeau years? I would say it worked pretty disastrously badly for them. And so I could see if I were a part of that caucus, I would be, wondering what exactly has to be in that budget to have me vote for it, and think that that's going to save my bacon when it comes to going to the electorate. It's probably easier, just given the size of their caucus, for the Conservatives to have some people to abstain, because it's such a tiny percentage of what their actual caucus is. It's probably easier to play that off. But, I haven't seen a lot of signs of the Conservatives not wanting an election. I've seen kind of a lot of the opposite. I think, if they could go back in time and relitigate the last one again, I think they would, if you look at what their positioning has been. So, it still feels like this is more of an act of faith as to what's going to happen on this vote than it is, anyone having counted noses and having certainty about it.
Yeah, it doesn't feel certain. That's a good point. Kathleen, what do you have? What do you?
No, nothing about this feels certain at all. Holy crap. We are less than 10 minutes out. We are very, very close. Can either finish this one off, which is about 3 more minutes, or, you know what, I'm just going to put this one up.
Then that, in any event, we're going to find out more now about why Ms. May has taken the position she has from herself. She is sitting right here. Hello, Ms. May. It's good to see you. Thank you for making the time.
It's lovely to see you, Ms. Koppel, if you're going to be formal. But
No.
It's lovely to see you, and Elizabeth, but I know you're not allowed to do that.
No, that's okay. It's a sign of respect on my part. I have to start off, and I will ask this with respect, but I don't understand what you traded your vote for, because what I heard from the Prime Minister there was just a general commitment to something his government is already legally bound to in the Paris targets. No specifics about how they will actually get there. What did you trade your vote for?
I've been negotiating with them since November 4th, to be clear, and I have from the beginning said that I found the budget, I still do, much of it completely unacceptable, but the worst part for me was there was no mention of the Paris Agreement at all. There was no commitment to reach our targets. There was no mention of the nature agenda. So what I negotiated, and it was, I have to say, with a lot of goodwill, with lots of different people in the mix, different ministers, the Prime Minister himself, people in the PMO, was to say to them, and I didn't really even put it as I would even vote yes, but I need to know, are we committed to the Paris Agreement? We skipped COP30, which made me very concerned. And on top of that, the budget, if anything, was doubling down on fossil fuels. So I needed to know, especially since I'd seen previous interviews where it looked like everybody was ducking.
We need to triple down on fossil fuels.
Committing to the Paris Agreement. Are we committed? I want to hear it. I want to hear a firm commitment from the Prime Minister's own lips, yes, the Paris Agreement is a commitment of this government, and voting for this budget will mean, yes, we're going to not only respect the Paris Agreement commitments, we're going to achieve them. And nature agenda and adaptation and Indigenous reconciliation. In hearing those things, I felt I have a weight of responsibility to do the right thing here. And
she's got a virtue signal, so she's got to put us into hundreds of billions of dollars in debt even further, to the likes we have never seen before.
One way to help out the budget passing was not to vote at all. I didn't feel that was really adequate to the moment. Canadians want to see leadership. I want, in a minority parliament, to be able to play a role in helping, through cooperation, get things done. I don't like a hyper-partisan parliament, and I sure don't like the idea that we would be... I was obviously moved by the fact that so many people contacted me, called my office from across the country, saying, please vote yes. I couldn't vote yes without a substantial commitment from the Prime Minister, and that's what I believe I got.
And I do understand that, but like, what is substantial about his commitment? And I ask because I think you would be the first, outside of this circumstance, to say words are not the same as actions. The Prime Minister did not attend COP. They rolled back the consumer carbon tax. They intend to roll back the emissions cap. They have paused the EV mandate. They are the biggest champion at the moment, from a verbal perspective at least, of fossil fuel development. Like, what in that scenario adds up to actually doing what the Prime Minister told you today he would do?
Respect for the Prime Minister and his office, and respect for the idea that one who goes onto the floor of the House of Commons on a day as portentous as today, as historic as today, and says clearly, we will reach our targets, and they are a commitment of this government. I have to move. Yes, because I've never heard the Prime Minister say something that he didn't intend to deliver on, which is why it made me very nervous. He wouldn't say out loud, I'm committed to the Paris Agreement targets. Now I know that he has said so in a moment of consequence. I respect him. I've known him since he was Governor of the Bank of Canada. I can't think that anyone would say about Mark Carney, the guy says one thing and does another. I've never heard that said about him. One can say many things about his previous background in finance and economics. I think we don't adequately respect the fact that he's new to Parliament. Working to develop consensus hasn't been something he's had to do in other jobs. This place is a minority parliament, and working to achieve consensus means goodwill on all sides.
I can't take her seriously. Oh man, this is hard. He's supposed to have all this experience. Stop giving him slaps on the wrist. How about that? Like, it's that simple. He shouldn't have built himself up to be this mastermind that can fix everything. Like, we're just holding him to his own words, to his own standard, to what he ran on, and it's that simple. There's nothing more. There's nothing more to it. Oh, we need to be nice to him because he's never sat in Parliament before. He's been a part of the UK for years and years. I'm sure he's probably stepped inside that Parliament building as well. Obviously, it's not one of one here to there, but let's be real. He's not new to this. He just sucks at speaking in public and debating.
Which means I extend my goodwill and trust to my Prime Minister right now.
Is that goodwill, and I have to ask this, I think on behalf of a lot of people who care a lot about the environment, who support you, like, is that goodwill about your own self-preservation from a political perspective?
Not a bit. I couldn't care less. All I care...
Really?
Yeah, really. Right now, if we went into an election, I have Green Party candidates across the country raring to go, and they wouldn't mind one bit. It's not about the politics, or I've never in my life decided how to vote on any issue based on political expediency. Never. And I'm not about to start now. I vote on the matter of my conscience and a really strong sense of my responsibility to my constituents, but to Canadians from coast to coast, to actually deliver on something meaningful, to get a win out of the negotiations, to be able to say, yeah, now I know that the Prime Minister of Canada is committed to the Paris Agreement and to achieving those targets and to the nature agenda, and we're going to have to do it.
Oh boy.
And right now, the existing tools aren't going to be adequate. Clearly, we're going to need to see changes, policy changes, and
you
direction.
didn't, as a stipulation of your vote, pardon the interruption, get any of that specified. Like, did you adequately, on behalf of people who care about the things that they believe you're here to represent, get enough from the government in the way of more than just the goodwill you're willing to offer the Prime Minister? Like, did he get up there and say the climate plan will be introduced by the end of this year, that we will make sure that we make up for the loss of the consumer carbon? Like, he has not said any of that.
But we're in a minority parliament, and I'm going to stay fully engaged to help and make sure we do get those commitments. Let's face it, at 35 seconds of an answer from a Prime Minister that gets it on the record, we were running out of options for how to get things on the record. It was too late to introduce amendments on paper to the budget. We were pressed by a lot of circumstances, let's face it, of the Liberals' own making, but we were right up against a vote where I was still committed to a no vote unless I could get something meaningful for climate action. All I can say is people can judge by results.
That's all she cares about. It's insane. Not the affordability of things, it's just climate action. Number one. We are a minute out.
Orders in the climate movement. God bless everybody who wants to keep, who will fight, because every fraction of a degree of global warming we avoid will save millions of lives. And Canadians right now have experienced loss of life, and we've experienced last year $8.5 billion of insurable losses. How it could possibly be that the budget was introduced in the first place without dealing with those issues. But now I know I have a commitment from the Prime Minister, and he has my commitment to work with him and make a minority parliament work until we have an election.
What do you say to Canadians, though, who look to you to help save those lives that you just spelled out were at risk? You have effectively made it easier for this government to stay in power.
All I can think of is, if an election were to happen, I don't get how the Green Party continues to get voted in. I just don't. Like, Elizabeth May alone has pretty much zero sway in the House of Commons as a whole. And if the Liberals were to get a majority, her seat would mean nothing. She could scream at the rooftop all she wants, but a single person in a seat, like, that's it. She's just, I don't know. I feel like she's not really accomplishing much. That's essentially what I'm getting at. It's only a matter of time before another party takes over her seat. I don't know.
And again, all you have is a verbal commitment on the floor of the House and the Prime Minister. And all the evidence that led you to the moment where you felt that was necessary still exists.
That is all correct. I have to say that what I feel I've achieved through the negotiation process and being the only party that tried to negotiate improvements in the budget, I hope Canadians will...
All right, here we go. Finally. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen.
The question is as follows. Mr. Champagne, seconded by Mr. Carney, moved that this House approve in general the budgetary policy of the government.
The 10-minute period for members voting electronically has started, and the House will now proceed to the vote for members participating in person. All those in favor of the motion will please rise.
Mr. Carney. Mr. Ali. Madam Diaz. Mr. McDonald Malpeck. Mr. McGinty. Mr. Lightbound. Mr. Robertson. Ms. DeBrussen. Monsieur Leblanc. Madame Joly. Monsieur McKinnon Gatineau. Monsieur Champagne. Ms. Thompson. Mr. Hodgson. Mr. Ananda Sangari. Ms. Haidu. Madame Michel. Monsieur Guilbeault. Mr. Fraser. Mr. Sidhu Brampton East. Mrs. Oshelski. Mr. Solomon. Mrs. Valdez. Monsieur Duclos. Ms. Gould. Madame Petitpas-Taylor. Mr. Blair. Mr. Wilkinson. Ms. Fry. Ms. Chager. Mr. Osborne. Mr. Fagascatos. Mr. Fuhr. Mr. Vancouverden. Ms. Gainey. Madame Provost. Ms. Sahota. Mr. Belanger, Desnethe, Mississippi Churchill River.
Mr. Belanger, Desnethe, Mississippi Churchill River.
Ms. McKnight. Ms. Chartrand. Mr. Gerritsen. Ms. Anand. Ms. Alty. Ms. Gullmasty. Mr. Sarai. Ms. McLean, Esquimalt Saanich Suk. Mr. Long. Mr. Zericelli. Madame Chanette. Ms. Latanzio. Mr. Nakvi. Mr. Housefather. Mr. Noor Mohammed. Madame Minna. Monsieur Miller. Ms. Jasic. Mr. Beach. Ms. Scrow. Mr. Duguid. Mr. Erskine Smith. Mr. Fisher. Mr. Dhaliwal. Madame Chattel. Mrs. Romanato. Mr. Lewis Kitchener-Conestoga. Mr. Assassi. Mr. Grant. Mr. Letao. Mr. Bardisi. Madame Kayabaga. Mr. Lamoureux. Madame Brière. Mr. Turnbull. Mr. Kellaway. Mr. Gay. Mr. Hogan. Madame Koutrakis. Ms. Chi. Mr. Miles. Mr. Biddle. Mr. Cormier. Ms. Dillon. Ms. Zerowitz. Mr. El Khoury. Mr. Fergus. Mr. Fonseca. Mr. Yacono. Ms. Khalid. Mr. Lauzon. Mr. Maloney. Ms. Suds. Madame Desrochers. Ms. McKelvey. Mr. Gasparo. Mr. Hanley. Madame Rochefort. Mr. Casey. Mr. Blois. Madame Bendayan. Madame Fortier. Mr. Oliphant. Mr. Baptiste. Mr. Clausen. Madame Lavac. Monsieur Ramsey. Ms. Church. Mr. McKinnon, Coquitlam, Port Coquitlam. Mr. Morrissey. Mr. Shifke. Mr. Sheehan. Ms. Sidhu Brampton South. Ms. Vandenbeld. Mrs. Zaid. Ms. Yip. Mr. Baker. Mr. D'Entremont. Madame Lalonde. Mr. Pulowski. Mr. Weiler. Mr. Zuberi. Mr. Eolfson. Madame Lapointe, Rivière de Mille-Îles. Mr. Baines. Mr. Cotto. Mr. Gahir. Ms. Hefner. Madame Lapointe, Sudbury. Mr. Souza. Mr. Carr. Ms. Akan. Mr. Al Saoud. Madame Auguste. Mr. Chang. Mr. Clark. Mr. Connors. Madame Dandurand. Mr. Danko. Monsieur Deschaines Thériault. Mr. Earl. Madame Mendez. Ms. Fancy. Mr. Fanjoy. Mr. Greaves. Ms. Harrison. Ms. Hurdle. Mr. Joseph. Mr. Lavoie. Mr. McDonald Cardigan. Mr. Millette Bay of Quinty. Ms. Miedema. Madame Mingarelli. Ms. Nathan. Ms. Wien. Mr. Tumba. Ms. O'Rourke. Mr. Rana. Ms. Royer. Mr. Saini. Mr. Sari. Mr. Sawatsky. Ms. Sodi. Mr. Saint-Pierre. Ms. Tesser Dirksen. Mr. Villeneuve. Mr. Watchorn. Ms. May.
She said she was going to do it. There you go. She said she was. I guess she's true to her word.
All those opposed to the motion. All those opposed to the motion will please rise.
Monsieur Poliev.
Mr. Poliev.
Mr. Doherty. Mr. Schmale. Mr. Brock. Mr. Bazan.
So the Conservatives are all going to vote against it. I guess the Bloc apparently are all going to vote against it. It literally comes down to the NDP. That's what it comes down to. I don't know if I see empty seats on the Conservative side. Actually, I think I maybe do. A couple empty seats here or there, unless they vote online. I don't know. There's actually a few empty seats in the Conservatives. So, I guess we'll see.
Mr. Mazer. Mr. Jennis. Mr. Brassard. Mr. Duncan. Mr. Workington. Mrs. Cramp-Nyman. Mr. Khanna. Mrs. Roberts. Mr. Morin. Mr. Ross. Madame Vien. Mr. Godin. Mr. Martel. Ms. Rumpel-Garner. Mr. Cooper. Mr. Lloyd. Mr. Lawrence. Mr. Van Popta. Mr. Kelly. Mr. Généreux. Mr. Gould. Mr. Viss. Mr. Tucker. Mr. Steinley. Mr. Zimmer. Mr. Lobb. Mr. Baldinelli. Mr. Davidson. Mr. Malillo. Mr. Calkins. Mr. Redekop. Mr. Muse. Mr. Waugh. Ms. Rood. Mr. Ho. Mrs. Falk, Battleford, Lloydminster, Meadow Lake. Ms. Gladue. Mr. Majumdar. Mrs. Goodridge. Mr. Shipley. Mr. Bragdon. Mr. Tolmie. Monsieur Lefebvre. Mr. Arnold. Mrs. Gallant. Mr. Allison. Mr. Vierson. Mr. Epp. Mr. Williamson. Mr. Falk Provencher. Mr. Diot. Mr. McCulley. Mr. Menegakis. Mrs. Wagenthal. Mrs. Jensen. Mr. Abultaif. Mr. Motz. Mr. Dalton. Mr. Dowdle. Mr. Cram. Mr. Morrison. Mr. Patzer. Mr. Leslie. Mr. Giovanni. Mr. Anderson. Mrs. Anstey. Mr. Au. Mr. Babber. Mr. Bailey. Mr. Bélanger, Sudbury Est, Manitoulin, Nickelbelt. Mr. Bexty. Mr. Bonk. Mrs. Borelli. Ms. Kobania. Mrs. Cody. Mr. Davies, Vancouver South. Niagara South.
Mr. Davies, Niagara South.
Mr. Dawson. Mrs. DeRitter. Mr. Gill, Calgary Skyview. Mr. Gill, Brampton West. Mr. Gill, Calgary McKnight. Mr. Gill, Windsor West. Mr. Nader. Mr. Gill, Abbotsford South Langley. Mr. Groslo. Mr. Guglielmin. Mr. Gunn. Mr. Hardy. Mr. Holman. Mr. Jackson. Mr. Kibble. Ms. Kirkland. Mrs. Conans. Ms. Cronus. Mr. Couric. Mr. Lawton.
If the NDP says no, I guess it depends on what the total count is. Here we go.
Mr. McKenzie. Mr. Reynolds. Mr. Stevenson. Mr. Strauss. Monsieur Blanchette. Monsieur Garon. Madame Normandin. Monsieur Brunel.
All right, looks like the Bloc pulled through on voting no. They came through with their word.
Monsieur Champoux. Monsieur Perron. Monsieur Bonin. Monsieur Savard-Tremblay. Monsieur Sainte-Marie. Madame Larouche. Madame de Bellefeuille. Madame Gaudreau. Monsieur Beaulieu. Monsieur Blanchette-Jonca. Monsieur Lemire.
Oh.
Monsieur Davies, Vancouver Kingsway.
Oh.
Monsieur Boulris.
Ladies and gentlemen, the unthinkable has just happened. The NDP are voting against it. Whoa. Holy shit, ladies and gentlemen. I have no idea what the total count is going to be. It looks like some members possibly abstained as well. I have no idea. Things are kicking off right now.
The electronic voting period has ended, and the House will now await the end of the broadcasting of the votes for members voting electronically before resuming its proceedings. Once the proceedings resume, I will invite members who encountered technical difficulties to identify themselves.
I have no idea. We're gonna have to wait and see. No's. No, we have an NDP, no. Freeland says yes. Conservatives, no. Bloc, no. Liberal, yes. Conservatives, no. Bloc, no. Abstained. NDP abstained. Okay, so the budget could pass. The budget could pass. We have our first abstention right there. Okay. I have no idea what the total's gonna be. This is crazy. Are we heading to an election?
If members were not able to vote due to technical difficulties, they may now use the raise hand function and the chair will recognize them. Ms. Gazan.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to make sure, like, this budget had nothing for MMI.
Oh my god.
I can't hear the honourable member. But
She's not even...
The honourable member, if I could have a bit of silence in the House so I can hear the honourable member. How does the honourable member vote?
Yes, I just want to make sure.
Oh my god. She said no, but she was trying to go off on a rant.
Ms. Gazan, your vote has been registered as no. Are you attempting to change that vote?
No, I'm not.
Okay. The honourable
this is wow.
Official opposition House leader has a point.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I had technical difficulty. I would like to vote no.
Mr. Reid.
Who?
Mr. Reid. You can just recognize
Mr. Reid, yes.
Mr. Speaker, I was unable to use my app. I would like to vote no.
Anyone else?
Oh my goodness.
Okay. The table will now compile the results of the vote.
Yeas pour 170, 170. Nays contre 168, 163.
It passed.
I declare the
2
motion
votes.
carried.
Thank you, sir.
Oh no, a lot more than 2. Okay, I didn't hear that properly. A lot more than 2 votes, but yeah, there you go. It passed. I thought he said 168, 170, but it's... Oh, it is 170, so it is 2 votes. Okay, there you have it. The House of Commons doesn't even know what it's doing. It's putting up false numbers, saying it's 177. We have 170 to 168. That's what I thought I heard. It passed by 2.
This is for you.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Now it's going to be a spending spree like no other. They have just passed a spending spree like no other. And who's to say that the money will even go to what they claim? Because we know Trudeau was great with his spending, especially where it was going and knowing to where it was going, right?
Order! À l'ordre! The House will proceed with...
We're cooked.
I would just ask all members who are not participating in the...
Alright, that's going to do it for today's live stream. I will be tomorrow for question period. The Speaker of the House is going off.
Pictures to immediately delete the pictures now. Now. That goes for all honorable members. The House is in session. The mace is on the table. There are to be no pictures taken within the chamber during proceedings.
The Liberals get their budget passed, they just do whatever the hell they want in the House of Commons. Unbelievable, dude. Unbelievable. Anyway, that is going to do it. Dude, he's demanding they delete these photos. No photos allowed. And the Liberals are just taking photos and everything. Insane. That is going to do it for today's stream. I will be live tomorrow for question period. Have a great rest of your day or night, depending on where you are from. Adios, everybody.
In this House, and I suspect that the members opposite knew I had the first late show this evening, and that's why so many of them are still here, which we're not used to seeing in adjournment proceedings.